Hi, welcome to Networks Learning. My name is Riazgul. In today's video, we are going to see how we can configure basic routing on Palo Alto network. We'll use the static routing configuration. As you are aware, in my previous video, I have explained the brief details of how you can configure different types of routing on Palo Alto Firewall. So over here, we have a scenario that our LAN is connected to Palo Alto Firewall, and we have one uplink configured as WAN link connected to edge router, and edge router is connected to one of the remote routers which is having one loopback address. So the basic IP addresses are configured, and connectivity is also there, but routing is not configured on Palo Alto Firewall. So I'll briefly show you what we want to achieve in this lab. Basically, our LAN network 192.168.1.0 should be reachable to the loopback address of the remote network 10.100.100. So on firewall, I'll show you the routing. Under network tab, you have virtual routers. Inside virtual router, you need to go to default instance of virtual router. Inside this, currently we don't have anything configured. So by default, I should be able to ping the other side of the edge router because we are on same subnet from the Palo Alto Firewall. The source IP on ether 1/1 of the firewall is 10.10.50.2 and the other end is 10.10.50.1. So you can see I am able to receive the ping response from the other side. But if I want to ping using the same strategy, source 10.10.50.2, or we can use the LAN address 192.168.1.1 to the host 10.100.100. It's not successful, you can see, because the routing is not there. So for a static routing, to configure a default route on Palo Alto Firewall if you want to have an internet connectivity as well, because this is the only exit interface, so default route will work because it will be required in future connectivity as well. So I will configure default route on Palo Alto Firewall. Then you need to configure a specific route from the edge router for this destination address. On edge router, I will configure one route pointing towards the remote router for 100.100 loopback address. So I'll navigate to the MikroTik edge router over here. I'll navigate to IP. Under routes, you can see that I have some routing over here, but we need to check the routing for 100.100 subnet, which is the loopback address on remote router. You can see over here, this is one of the entry 10.100.1/32, and the next hop is 10.100.1.10. 10.100.1.10 is configured on this interface over here. I'll show you in the router. 10.100.10 is the interface connected to edge router. So on my edge router, it's pointing 10.100.100 towards remote router. Because this is a loopback address, it's not the interface address, that's why we have to provide one static route towards edge router. It's called a separate network. Loopback is definitely considered a separate network on any device if you configure a loopback. So you have to configure the routing. So this is the routing path from Palo Alto Firewall. We have a default route. From edge router, we have a static route towards a specific route towards remote router, and on remote router we need to provide routing for either we can provide static routing for all the paths, like we need to provide the static route for this segment 10.50.0 towards this interface, and also same route entry for 192.168.1.0. And one other methodology is we can provide a default route because there is no other segment connected to this router. It has only one exit point, which is this interface. So we'll configure a default route pointing towards edge router, but on edge router we have multiple paths. We have one part going to the internet on 192.168.137.0 network, and the other path is going towards the Palo Alto Firewall. So on edge router, we will specify one specific route for this LAN segment. So let's go to the remote router over here. I'll show you the routing configuration. You can see over here we have a default route pointing towards 10.1.9 segment interface. So IP interface. And on edge router over here we should have a route. We are on edge router, we should have a route because there is one segment, network segment in between the firewall and edge router to reach to the LAN segment. So we need to tell the edge router that if you want to send traffic and if you want to have it, if you have a traffic destined for this network 192.168.1.0, send it to the next hop IP address of 10.10.50.2 subnet. So I'll show you over here. We have this entry 192.168.1.0, which is the LAN IP address subnet of the Palo Alto Firewall, and it's pointed towards 10.10.50.2, which is the IP address on the firewall edge WAN interface. So definitely this is active and static and it's running. So now we should be able to reach from remote router to the edge router interface connecting towards the firewall. So we can verify it from here. First we will check its default gateway 1.9. We are able to reach 10.10.50.11 is the interface binded on edge router interface. You can see over here. But on Palo Alto we will not be able to reach because we don't have any routing configured on Palo Alto Firewall. So you can see over here we are not able to get any response. So now we will configure routing on Palo Alto Firewall. You need to navigate to the networks. Under network you have virtual router. Inside virtual router you need to go to static routing. Inside static routing you need to define a default route. Default route is the route which is defined in order to reach any destination network which is not residing on your network, and this is the only exit point. So that's why I am configuring this interface for the static routing. If I would have one internet connectivity on another interface, so I can have configured one, like I will connect this link to the okay, sorry, we don't have ports on the firewall. But if I connect one interface over here to the this segment, then I could have configured the specific route for this segment. So it depends on that scenario and depends on the situation where you configure a default route. By default, it is the route which enables you to reach a destination network which is not on your network segment. It is the exit point for all the networks. Usually it is configured towards the internet. So we will navigate to the firewall, static route, default gateway. Destination is any interface would be 1/1. Outside next hop IP address would be 10.10.50.1. Administrative distance you can see over here. If you want to have multiple static routes, you can configure admin distance. Administrative distance is the trustworthiness of a routing entry. Like you have static routing by default in Cisco, it has the static routing has administrative distance of 1. Similarly, we have OSPF, ISIS, BGP, all have some kind of administrative distances. So we'll keep it as default and click on OK. And click on OK. So you can see over here, by default administrative distances for Palo Alto Firewall, for static it is assigning as 10. Static IPv6 10, OSPF inter area, OSPF interior or exterior, OSPF version 3, then IBGP, BGP, RIP, Similarly for OSPF it's 110, and for ISIS I think it's 115, 115. So this is how you can configure. So now we also need one security policy to allow the traffic from LAN segment towards this loopback address. So we'll configure the policies as well, and after that we'll commit the changes. So I'll go to the security policy. Currently we do have default policies, which is one is intrazone and one is interzone. So we will configure it as LAN ICMP allow. Source zone would be LAN. So source address would be LAN. No, I have not configured, so I'll keep it as any. Destination zone would be WAN. Destination address I can configure. Remote router loopback 10.100.100/32. I can also configure source address, but there's no need. Application any, service any, currently action allow. Okay. So now we will commit, and after commit I will come back once the commit changes are applied. So commit changes take some time, so I'll pause the video till that time. As you can see, commit is successfully completed. So we'll navigate to the topology and configure IP address on LAN PC. This is my LAN PC. So I need to configure IP 192.168.1.10/24, and gateway is 192.168.1.1. We are on LAN side behind the firewall, so I'll check the gateway reachability. Maybe I need to check the 192.168.1.1, the interface. LAN address 1.1. Okay, I need to check the switch, I think. The switch ports were down, that's why it was not able to receive the IP address. Let me execute it again. I don't know why its interface protocol is getting down. It should be up. So no worries, I'll replace the switch and come back. So after replacing the switch, I am able to receive the ping response from the gateway. The other switch was having some issue, so that's why we were not able to receive the ping response. So now it's up. You can see over here MAC addresses, but MAC addresses are not being shown. Let me check. Yeah, you can see the MAC addresses on both of the ports of the LAN switch. So we are able to reach the gateway. Now I'll try to ping this IP address, the remote loopback, ping 10.100.100.100. Sorry, we are on LAN switch. We need to ping it from the NPC 10.100.100. So you are able to see that we are reachable. We'll also track the the flow. First of all, on firewall you will have some session. So if you go to the session browser, you will see that traffic coming from LAN going to WAN, source IP this 100.10, 1.10 going to 100.100. You can see the corresponding rule which is applied on this traffic is LAN ICMP law, which we created. Ingress is 1/2 and egress is 1/1. So traffic is navigating towards edge router, and from edge router it's going to the remote router. One more thing which I am going to show you over here, that on edge router I can perform the net for this LAN subnet so that my end PC can reach to the internet. So I'll navigate to the MikroTik router. Inside the firewall we have an option for the net. Over here I have a subnet, and I can replace this subnet with my LAN address 826.1.1.0/24. Since this MikroTik has the reachability to this LAN segment, this MikroTik has reachability to this LAN segment. So I just want to NAT this traffic. If any traffic that wants to go to the internet, it should be routed to ether 1, and it will be connected to my physical segment of the network, and it will definitely route to the internet. So let's try this. Apply. Okay, and I enable this rule. Now I'll try to ping 8.8.8.8. So I think it should be reachable from here, but it's not. Can I show? I can check over here 192.168.1.0. Out interface is ether 1, source net, and masquerade. Apply. Okay. On firewall I have on firewall in the policy we have defined that the traffic inside the policy coming from LAN zone going to the WAN zone, only for this destination is allowed. So if I put any over here, then it will be allowed. Edit. I'll put okay, I'll change it to any over here. In that case we'll reach to the internet. I'll put it any. Okay, commit. Okay, so once the commit is successful, I'll be back. So the changes are successfully applied. Now we can navigate to the our LAN PC, LAN segment, and I want to show you the policy, what changes I made. Earlier I was giving the specific destination address, now it's changed to any. So now we should have a communication from the NPC to the internet. You can see over here, and also we can track it on firewall and on edge router as well. In monitor you have to go to session. You will see traffic from 192.168.1.10 going to 8.8.8 under allow ICMP policy rule, and inside traffic you will see some traffic initiated from this interface going to this source going to the destination. Application is ping, and all the relevant details are provided over here. So this is how you can configure basic routing on Palo Alto Firewall for your specific destinations and for your default route. And one more thing is that currently I am performing NAT on edge router. We can perform NAT in Palo Alto Firewall as well. In that case you need some changes on edge router and as well as on Palo Alto Firewall. So definitely we'll have one session with the netting lab as well once we reach till source net and destination lab segment. So thanks for watching my videos. Make sure you subscribe my channel and like and comment. If there is anything that you want me to simulate on this environment, we can definitely simulate and learn more. Thank you so much.